Hi there. I'd like you to get a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage because the next chapter is rather long. In fact, we're going to divide it into two videos. But I want you to relax, sit back, and maybe take a few notes as you go along with me. We're talking about managing behavior changes, personality changes, and this chapter is called Behavior Management Strategies. You probably already discovered that there have been some personality changes with your loved one. And that's just par for the course, but I want to tell you that you're going to experience or observe quite a few other changes, more than likely, and not necessary that every single one of the things that I write about in this book, this chapter, will happen to you or your loved one. Nonetheless, I want you to be aware of them. Even the most mild-mannered, relaxed, comfortable person who has Alzheimer's can change dramatically and exhibit some inappropriate behavior. If you have read about this information, if you've studied up on this a little bit, you won't be quite as unnerved by it, and you'll know how to counterbalance that. A lot of what we talk about and encourage you to do is redirect someone. That's a term you'll read a lot about in the book, redirect them. Again, it's the lack of understanding and knowledge on your part that causes you the greatest problem. So you'll see I have quite a few books here. I've read all of these and about 40 others, and I've talked about some of these books in this guidebook. Go to them, resource them, learn from what they have to share as well as you understand these behavior changes. I'd like to just mention that not everything changes into a negative situation. My mother was a very tense, formal, I think you would probably call her pretty uptight lady. Most of her life, everything was very structured. As the disease progressed, my mother lost all of her insecurities and all of her inhibitions and has become the most delightful, pleasant, sweet person. And frankly, this is the mom I'm going to remember. I'm choosing to remember the last part of her life as opposed to the personality I really grew up with, though she was very loving. It was a pretty tough environment. This is this gentle person with a great sense of humor who is not afraid to show it, and people who are around her now just love to have conversations with her because it doesn't always make sense, but she's pretty funny. And she's happy. And that's a really wonderful thing. So I hope for your sake that your loved one ends up being much more relaxed, less inhibited, and that they end up showing a very happy, pleasant side. I have a client who I love this story, and I want you to know it. And it seems rather interesting that this man was an engineer, and I've heard this from a couple other people over the last couple of years also, about people who were engineers. They were very by the book, everything just so, not demonstrative. My one, Betty's husband, Jim, Mr. Not Demonstrative, Mr. Engineer, will now hug her and kiss her in public. When they're in the market, there's at the line, he'll turn around, he wants to dance with her, he just hugs her, loves everybody. And at first she said it was really embarrassing. And I said, well, is he doing something that's inappropriate? And she said, well, not unless you call dancing in the line at the market inappropriate. I said, how are people reacting around you? Well, all the women love it. I said, well, all the women are envious of you, Betty. Enjoy it. As long as your husband's not taking all his clothes off in the grocery store, you're okay. And I say that sincerely. I want you to find a little bit of humor in this, and I also want you to embrace the love and the friendship and the moments that come your way, because they may not all put a smile on your face, okay? But those are the memories that I want you to hold on to and keep as you go forward, okay? Some of the things that you're going to experience, or you may very well experience, will be apathy or repetitive speech and action. We all know about the repetitive questions, but there can also be repetitive action where they keep picking something up, picking it up, picking it up, putting it back, picking it up, putting it back. Those can make you very uncomfortable because you're trying to figure out what the reason is. I'm going to suggest to you that you just let it go. That is a behavior pattern that's indicative of the disease. Remember, you're losing brain cells that are controlling those, and possibly inviting your loved one to get up and go do something else that redirection might stop that for a while, but it might also just start up again in another place. If you can possibly give yourself the grace and do yourself the favor of forgetting about it, it's not causing a problem for your loved one, let it go. If, on the other hand, they're sitting there picking at their skin, you need to address that situation. And that's the kind of repetitive action that you might also see. So working with solutions to solve problems like that are suggestions that you're going to find here in the guidebook. And those are also points that I'm going to encourage you to discuss with your doctor, because there could be some medication that would help soothe your loved one, okay? Another area that comes up more often than not would be what we call rummaging and pillaging. They're going through all the dresser drawers, they're going through things, they're reorganizing. A lot of the times they're doing that because they're just bored, or they need to have order, or they need to put things together because they're going home. Again, if you are challenged by this, if it's making more work for you, let's take a look at some ways that you can alter that. If they're constantly reorganizing their dresser drawers, or they're pulling things out and then you're having to put them back, solve that problem rather simply. Take most of the things, most of their clothes out of those dresser drawers, out of that closet, and put them someplace else where they're not likely to know about, so that you're going out and you're picking out their clothes in the morning and laying them out for them. If they do go to those dresser drawers, they will be less likely to ask you where everything is as to focus on what is there. Now they're only messing up or folding or pulling out 3 or 4 things. You can deal with that, okay? Sounds very simplistic, but actually, did you find that a lot of the solutions, things that bother us, are pretty simple? Let's not make it bigger than it needs to be. Just minimize the work. Agitation, anxiety, those are areas that are very, very prevalent. They may have a catastrophic reaction to something. They exaggerate, they overreact to something very simplistic. The very best approach to that is simply to try to redirect them. I'd like you to practice a few things all by yourself in your bathroom. Close the bathroom door, stand in front of the mirror. You need to redirect your loved one immediately based on a behavior that they had. I want you to play act in front of that mirror and say, "Oh my gosh, did I just tell you? Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Don't move, don't hold that thought right there, Jim. I'll be right back." Jim's waiting right there. You run around the corner. You count to 10 and then you walk back. "Oh, hi." Jim has already forgotten what was bothering him. Jim has forgotten that he's asked you something 19 times. You have redirected Jim by that short spurt reaction. And I'm going to encourage you to come up with some great, simple actions that work for you, okay, as you go through this process. And now we're going to do another little video right after this that'll talk to you about medications and home safety tips, all right? So take a break. We'll see you in just a minute.